This morning, a quiet atmosphere settled over the royal palace, not because of a formal ceremony, but out of fear. According to a leaked confidential source, MI6 has quietly launched a preliminary investigation into what is being described behind closed doors as a serious breach in the royal family's internal communication system. And the name at the center of this investigation is Meghan Markle. At first, this sounded absurd even to those involved, but the rumors didn't stop. In fact, they only grew stronger. By midday, two investigative journalists specializing in intelligence confirmed a detail that completely changed the situation. Do you think this is just a rumor, or is there something truly being hidden behind the royal gates? Leave a comment with 1 if you're ready to join us in uncovering the full truth behind this shocking case. Don't forget to share your thoughts. We read every comment. Hit like if you find this video thought-provoking. And subscribe now so you won't miss the latest hot updates from behind the royal scenes and ongoing secret investigations. Today's story isn't just drama, it could be the start of a serious crisis. Call logs allegedly linked to Meghan's overseas team have triggered red alerts on UK government servers. These calls were far from ordinary. They were not part of any official royal communications. Worse, they may have been used to track the real-time locations of senior royal staff. A royal aide who wished to remain anonymous said, "We never suspected that Meghan's old communication system was still active, certainly not in this way. We were told all devices had been deactivated after the couple left the royal family. Clearly, something was overlooked." The security nightmare began with an email, a forwarded internal email flagged by GCHQ's cybersecurity unit. The email contained a digital footprint linked to a secure contact in Montecito, where Meghan resides, with a timestamp matching key royal movement events in the UK. As analysts traced that footprint, they uncovered something even worse. A secondary phone network was linked to a device that had never been registered in the UK since before the Platinum Jubilee. And that's when MI6 stepped in. A former intelligence analyst tweeted on July 8th, "If even 10% of what I'm hearing is true, this is the biggest royal protocol breach in 50 years. They don't call in MI6 just over rumors." Meanwhile, inside Kensington Palace, the atmosphere was described as a cold panic. Tate, who had planned a low-key visit to a children's charity, abruptly canceled without explanation. William, who had recently remained silent amid the Meghan-related uproar, was reported to have been notified at 7 a.m. and immediately left a private event. A royal affairs journalist commented, "This is no longer just a royal feud. This seems to be an intelligence matter. If true, this is no longer a story about media betrayal, it's a national security issue." Meanwhile, Meghan's side has yet to make any official statements. Sources close to the Archewell organization have gone completely silent. No emails, no schedule updates, only a cryptic remark from a staff member when asked if Meghan was aware of the investigation. "She always knew this day might come." Narrator's message: every deleted tweet, false statement, and PR cover-up takes hours to investigate. If you want to help the channel keep exposing what others try to hide, hit the join button and become a member. As news of the investigation spread throughout Whitehall, a big question arose. How could Meghan, who is no longer a member of the royal family and no longer has access to the UK's classified information, still have digital access to the royal family's secure internal movements? The short answer: she shouldn't have. But insider sources now believe there was a digital blind spot during the Sussexes' exit from the royal family, a silent oversight that allowed some seemingly harmless communication channels to remain partially active. Worse still, some of those lines may have been deliberately rerouted. A former IT engineer who worked for the royal family revealed. At the time, we were focused only on controlling communications and didn't pay much attention to cybersecurity. No one thought she would exploit technical loopholes. Now it seems someone close to Meghan knew exactly where to breach. The crux of the matter lies in the call log's detailed call data that allegedly show access activity between a contact in Montecito and devices in the UK assigned to royal staff. These were no accidental or misdialed calls. According to a leaked report from MI6, these records show a pattern of deliberate communication that took place just before two top-secret events, a closed-door meeting to prepare for Kate Middleton's speech at the United Nations, and the private travel schedule of Prince George's security team. The calls were made during breaks routed through an encrypted proxy and nearly perfectly aligned with the timing of updates to the royal family's security protocols. A Twitter user at the account You Can Tell Watch wrote on July 9th. The same week Meghan's name appeared in congressional emails, her digital footprint coincides with the royal family's travel map. Well, that's a coincidence. This tweet sparked a firestorm on royal Twitter. And suddenly the question was no longer whether Meghan had made those calls herself from California, but who had done it for her. A name that keeps coming up: Jeanette Bryson Archewell's former communications manager, who quietly stepped down last year. According to internal whistleblowers, she was one of 3 people who had access to Meghan's old encrypted address book, which was created when Meghan was still a working royal. Now Bryson is under scrutiny by cybersecurity investigators. Meghan also canceled her attendance at a charity event in Beverly Hills this week, citing a schedule conflict. But the timing of the cancellation was too coincidental, as on the same day William met with MI6 advisors at a secret location, and according to media descriptions, the meeting left him confused, almost panicked. A journalist commented bluntly, "If William looked confused, it's because he was facing a threat not only to the crown, but to the actual safety of his family. At Kensington Palace, the level of tension was compared to the period following the controversial interview with Oprah, but this time it wasn't about reputation, but about real risk." Part of the material is said to focus on indirect access via proxies. In simpler terms, this means Meghan's team may have used apps' virtual phone numbers, burner numbers, or even messaging platforms linked to third parties who had worked within or near the palace grounds. These are not anonymous hackers, but individuals with a history security clearance and a clear purpose. Someone inside the palace whispered, "This is not an outside intrusion. It's like an echo from within, a ghost in the system. And this ghost may have done more than just spy." Now there are rumors of a specific case, a seemingly harmless change in Princess Charlotte's pickup route earlier this spring. At the time, the change was seen as a basic security measure. However, new digital forensic analyses reveal that a text message was sent just hours before the change occurred from a device linked to Meghan's inner circle. The message contained no clear content, only a vague statement. "You should be very careful today. There's a feeling that something is off." The message was sent to a phone number previously registered to a royal assistant. The assistant no longer worked at the palace, but the connection was sufficient to raise an alarm. A Twitter user wrote on July 10th at the Crown Whispers account, "This is no longer just a conflict. If it's true that Meghan's team really influenced security changes from thousands of miles away, that's a national threat. Even journalists who once defended Meghan's independence are beginning to rethink the issue. On a recent broadcast, Sky News analyst Lorraine Castle acknowledged the line between keeping informed and overstepping is very thin. If Meghan has crossed that line, this is no longer royal drama, it's a legal issue. And the legal consequences may already be rolling. According to reports, MI6 has been working with the UK Home Office. Their joint cybercrime unit is quietly investigating whether any digital touchpoints used by Meghan's team violate the Official Secrets Act, a law typically applied to acts of espionage, sabotage, or aiding foreign powers. If the answer is yes, the matter will not remain hidden behind palace walls forever. By midweek, the phrase breach of royal security had climbed to the top 5 trends on British media. But what no one expected was who would enter the next discussion. Simon Halbridge, the former deputy director of MI6, who had retired long ago and was known for being reserved, unexpectedly appeared on a late-night BBC roundtable program. His voice was calm, but his words left every newsroom in London stunned. I don't usually speak out. But when national institutions are harmed, whether intentionally or not, there is no such thing as old intelligence. If there is credible evidence that someone has attempted to monitor or manipulate royal security operations from afar, that is an act of hostility. And he added, even if that person had once been married to a prince. The broadcast clip quickly spread online overnight. Meanwhile, in Parliament, whispers of an official investigation were growing. A leaked memo from the Defense Committee suggested an emergency closed-door session. The document's title, Request to Review Meghan Markle's Call Logs for MI6 Report. Downing Street has yet to make an official statement, at least not yet. However, reporters have obtained a series of internal emails discussing whether to inform Prince Harry about the escalating investigation. Clearly, he has not been informed. Then came the most serious turning point. One of the blocked call logs, believed to be linked to the device of Meghan's former communications strategist, contained 3 very specific search terms: the Queen's Speech, Secure Broadcast Protocol, United Nations Security Escort, Route Private Mobile Phone Location, Catherine Windsor. The final keyword triggered an immediate investigation. A Twitter user commented on July 11th, "You're watching. Hold on if Meghan's team is searching for Kate's private location at a UN event, that's not just obsession. That's full-blown surveillance." The palace, known for its steadfastness in scandals, is said to have lost control of the story behind the scenes. A source close to Prince William revealed to The Times that he is not only disappointed, but also furious. This is no longer about media games or public sympathy. This is about his wife and children, and the truth is that despite everything that's happened, Meghan seems to be still watching them. And so, public opinion begins to shift. The issue is no longer whether Meghan was right or wrong in her previous grievances, but her current behavior and potential criminal activity. Tabloids ran headlines like "The Duchess Knows Too Much," "Meghan's Digital Footprint Causes Panic in Palace Corridors," and "Royal Rebellion Campaign." In the shadows of Whitehall, an anonymous official made a chilling statement to The Guardian. If what MI6 is compiling holds up through verification, there will be serious consequences. Titles don't protect you from espionage laws. By Thursday morning, journalists outside MI6 headquarters were no longer asking whether Meghan's team had accessed classified information. Instead, they asked, how far has this gone? A new batch of leaked information continued to arrive in journalists' inboxes this time, including screenshots of MI6's internal summaries. A document marked Class 2. Red limited eyes, only a Level 2. Classified document accessible only to authorized personnel described a marked call between a phone number registered in California and an international consulting firm specializing in privacy security. The call's subject line read, end-to-end eraser package quote for 3-month data batch. The call took place just 2 days after Meghan returned from a private event in Geneva, where Kate Middleton also attended a global mental health conference. A former intelligence officer tweeted on July 12th, following the intel trail in the UK. This is exactly how cover-up campaigns begin. First you scan, then you panic, then you try to erase the evidence. But the more you erase, the louder the alarm. This is exactly how cover-up campaigns begin. First, you scan, then you panic, then you try to wipe the traces clean, but the more you try to erase, the louder the alarm sounds. Meanwhile, pressure on Parliament to intervene officially is growing. An insider at the Home Office confirmed that the Foreign Affairs Committee has drafted a confidential file titled Violation of the Duchess's Protocol and its Legal Implications. What's more alarming is the secret visit of an MI6 legal representative to Windsor Castle. Speculation is running wild. Is King Charles being kept informed? Is Prince William demanding enhanced security? Or worse, is MI6 preparing to interrogate Prince Harry directly? Another leak refers to a clause for non-citizens related to how MI6 handles foreign nationals and security breaches. Meghan, technically still a U.S. citizen, could fall under a different legal jurisdiction if wrongdoing is proven. And in a shocking moment on social media, a palace-linked staffer broke their silence with a direct message DM shared by an internal royal account at Royal Round UK. We were told never to leave laptops unattended since 2020. Not because we feared journalists, but because she would still ask questions. Specific questions. Security wanted to mark her devices before she left. What shocked the public wasn't just the allegations, but the familiarity of the staff members. It seems everyone knew something was off years ago. If you think today's story is the ultimate royal drama, leave a comment number 2 below. If you think this is more than just a media feud and could be something more serious, leave a comment number 5. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Every comment you leave is a piece of the bigger picture. And don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel to help unravel the next chapters of this ongoing story. Then an internal audio recording was leaked. An MI6 training tape was revealed to the press. In it, a voice says, if someone who once had access to the royal schedule continues to show interest in those activities after leaving royal duty, it must be assumed that their intentions are hostile or criminal. People began to connect the dots. Meghan didn't just leave the royal family, she might still be monitoring them. And if that's the case, what's the reason? By midday Friday, the hashtag #AllMeghanSpygate had surpassed 1 million mentions, but the story was no longer just about encrypted calls or suspicious data deletions. It shifted to questions about motive. What is Meghan trying to find out, and what does she plan to do with that information? A former close assistant to Prince William spoke out during a closed-door press conference. The voice was anonymous and the identity undisclosed, but they revealed something chilling. The breach wasn't just about Kate's itinerary or speech, but about schedule coincidences. Meghan's team is trying to determine when key royal family members will be present in the same room at the same time. This discovery completely changes the landscape. Suddenly, MI6's investigation is no longer just about call logs. It's about security failures, deliberate surveillance, and possibly a coordinated PR campaign disguised as random coincidences. The UK Senate held a secret meeting on Friday evening requesting GCHQ and MI6 to conduct a security audit. The news was even more shocking when reports emerged that Meghan's phone had emitted a signal near an MI6 protected area in late June, a week before the incident was made public. Journalists from The Times suggested that a warrant to seize Meghan's digital records may have been executed. Meanwhile, social media was abuzz when the account History Keeps Receipts tweeted on July 14th, "Meghan may have left the royal family, but she never left the game." MI6 doesn't open files lightly. Something dark is going on here. On the same day, a British cybersecurity expert posted a series of tweets that went viral, explaining how someone could copy a royal employee's phone with just a login link provided they had previously had access to internal documents. The implication of the tweet series was that Meghan's time in the royal family may have provided her with enough information to create a backdoor in their digital system. Then the photos appeared. A Whistleblower account posted 2 blurry photos showing a man believed to be associated with Meghan's tech team in the US, sitting in a private airport lounge in Zurich. On the table next to him was a stack of documents marked KM Schedule Backup. Within hours, the account was locked. The post disappeared, but the internet had already saved it. Millions of people took screenshots. And suddenly, one thing became clear. This was not a petty tabloid feud. This was a major intelligence scandal. By Saturday morning, Buckingham Palace's silence had become deafening. No statement, no denial, not even a vague PR gesture. But insiders whispered that the Queen's former private secretary had been recalled to work in an emergency, a special advisor, something that hadn't happened since the Sussexes left the royal family in 2020. The final attention-grabbing detail sources within MI6 are now linking the breach to a specific date, a speech. Kate was scheduled to speak at the United Nations in Geneva, a speech that, according to leaked drafts, would focus on highlighting the leadership role of women globally, but in a subtle way, unlike the publicity-driven campaigns. This connection is impossible to ignore. On July 15th, a widely shared tweet from the Monarch Files account sparked a social media storm, so Meghan tried to sabotage Kate's UN moment. Now we discover that Meghan's team accessed call logs just before the speech took place. What's going on? Theories are already swirling. Is Meghan trying to sabotage the timing of the speech, or worse, is she planning to steal key points from the speech to leak them beforehand, aiming to outmaneuver Kate in capturing public opinion? However, things took a darker turn when a former palace aide who had been responsible for internal communication strategy secretly leaked a chilling memo. The memo is dated June 22nd, several weeks before any alleged misconduct, and it outlines a counterattack plan aimed at undermining the global reputation of an unnamed royal figure. The document uses phrases such as brand offsetting and preemptive exposure of hypocrisy. According to the Whistleblower, the memo was discovered and flagged by the Internal Legal Department but never acted upon until now. British lawmakers have begun calling for a comprehensive cybersecurity audit of all devices related to the royal family, not just currently, but dating back to 2019 and earlier. Why? Because encrypted logs show repeated communications from Meghan's team to former aides of Prince Andrew, a completely separate royal scandal, raising suspicions that Meghan may be gathering leverage from multiple sides. Meanwhile, a foreboding tweet from the asterisk account of a former palace staff member on July 15th sent shivers down many spines. The tweet read, "This has never been about reconciliation. It's about control. And some of us warned about this years ago. Now the public isn't just wondering what Meghan knows, but also what she plans to do next. The investigation has shifted from drama to a full-blown intelligence scandal. MI6 is no longer just reviewing call logs. They are also examining foreign-related correspondence linked to Meghan's former digital strategist, who briefly worked at the embassy in Washington before 2018. Though this connection hasn't been officially confirmed, the information is enough to make British intelligence wary of the risk of cross-border coordination. And in the blink of an eye, rumors of espionage began to creep into tabloid headlines. This is no longer just royal drama, but has become a matter of national security. On July 16th, a tweet from Insider Downing went viral on social media. We now have confirmation that at least 2 burner phones, disposable phones belonging to staff associated with the Sussexes, have been detected near royal security networks. This is an MI6 matter now. At the same time, a senior aide from Kensington Palace quietly provided information to a select group of off-the-record journalists. A notable statement quickly spread. This isn't an emotional reaction. This is a strategy. There's a line and she crossed it. At this point, even those who had previously supported Meghan began to backtrack. British journalist Fiona Ellsworth, who had previously defended Meghan against media intrusion, stunned viewers during a roundtable discussion on July 16th, when she said, "If this is proven to be true, I will have to admit I was wrong about her motives. Wanting to be heard is one thing, but infiltrating security infrastructure is an entirely different matter." Behind the scenes, the palace has established a legal firewall. All external communications, even routine PR updates, now must go through internal security reviews. And then the biggest twist struck. At 6:22 p.m. on July 16th, The Guardian quietly updated an article from 2020 in which a very alarming sentence was buried deep within the edits. A palace source now confirms that the leak of Tate's 2021 African Initiative Plan documents, previously considered a minor incident, may be reconsidered in light of recent security revelations. That leak was the reason for the months-long silence between the Wales and Sussex camps. If that incident also involved Meghan's inner circle, this is not just a single scandal. This would be a pattern of events, and Britain is very strict about such intrusions. By the morning of July 17th, public opinion had nearly erupted. People were no longer just speculating. They began demanding transparency and accountability. A tweet from retired military analyst Colonel Hawke caused a stir. If MI6 is investigating leaked call logs and palace security breaches, this is no longer a trivial matter. This is a national defense issue. Someone must be held accountable. Many former palace staff began sharing their stories with the media anonymously. A former logistics worker involved in the Queen's Platinum Jubilee celebrations told Sky News, "At times, information leaked so quickly, it left us bewildered. Schedules, seating arrangements, charitable collaborations, all were either disclosed or blocked at the last minute. It no longer felt like a coincidence. This has only fueled growing suspicions that Meghan's team is not acting on impulse or reacting impulsively. They may have been calculating strategic and quietly establishing a presence in areas where they are not permitted." Even late-night talk show hosts, who were once very cautious when discussing royal matters, have begun to speak out. A widely circulated clip of British host Mark Redgrave has been played repeatedly in which he says, "Imagine moving to another country, rejecting the system, suing tabloids, then secretly hacking into the backstage system. Either you've left or you haven't." But then an unexpected moment emerged. A leaked voicemail recording, reportedly from a former senior assistant in Meghan's Arwell office, surfaced. The voice in the recording is unclear, but the content is clear. If we time it right, it won't look like interference, but like concerned citizens. But it will still get the message to the right inbox before Kate speaks. The voice does not mention the UN speech or the media leak, but the timing of the message coincides with the week before Kate's important 2024 speech on global health. The speech that was nearly derailed by a sudden media controversy over missing documents. At this point, even the most steadfast Sussex supporters began to fall silent. By the evening of July 17th, another tweet sent social media into a frenzy. This time from UK Intel watchdog, we officially confirmed the involvement of an internal cybersecurity task force. MI6 has authority, but when cybercriminals infiltrate the royal infrastructure, there's no room for compromise. A royal correspondent summed up the situation accurately. "We thought we were watching a long-running TV series. It turns out we're witnessing an intrusion." On July 18th, Westminster fell into a state of lockdown. Not the kind with barriers or sirens, but the kind where every corridor echoed with whispers and deleted emails. Senior lawmakers began holding closed-door meetings with security leaders. The House of Commons has not issued any statement, but the palace has made a rare and cold move. Kensington Palace issued a brief statement to several media outlets. Any violation of internal communication procedures affecting senior members of the royal family will be treated with the utmost seriousness. On the same morning, The Times published an investigative article provided by an anonymous intelligence source titled "Cyber Intrusion into the Royal Family: What Meghan's Group is Said to Have Accessed." The article made shocking allegations the family's internal schedule personnel, transfer announcements, internal documents from Mimosum, and drafts of Kate's speeches. One of the allegations even claimed that an encrypted document detailing Princess Charlotte's school schedule had been accessed and copied, though not disseminated, but the fact that it was viewed was sufficient cause for concern. A tweet from royal commentator Diana Legacy bluntly stated, "When will we stop calling this drama and start calling it a breach?" The digital forensic investigation team traced the point of entry back to an advisor from the Arwell Foundation who had previously worked with a UK-based non-governmental organization. This advisor had remote access to multiple platforms, and while Meghan never logged in directly, her communications are believed to have triggered the incident. The MI6 investigation shifted focus not only to what was accessed, but also to who directed it and why. The most shocking moment came when an anonymous source in Parliament leaked a chilling statement. They didn't need to hack anything. They already had the passwords. By July 19th, global media outlets like Leant and Alizar began publishing in-depth analyses of the incident. CNN International aired the headline during primetime Mexit or espionage, "The phone hacking at the palace has shaken the royal family." Then, the final blow was delivered. During the BBC's evening commentary program, experts revealed that according to reliable sources, MI6 had handed over some crucial evidence to the FBI, citing concerns over cross-border online communications and potential violations of the State Secrets Act, a law typically applied in espionage or treason cases. At that moment, a new phrase began trending on social media: "Chew Royal Espionage Gate." And once again, the world no longer viewed Meghan as a duchess or a personal brand, but as a threat under surveillance and potentially under investigation. The silence from Meghan's team was almost absolute, but for the public, one thing had become clear. This was no longer just a personal dispute or conflict. This was a serious security breach, and the consequences of the incident were only beginning to unfold. What do you think about this story? Is this part of a larger conspiracy we haven't seen yet, or is it just a simple power struggle? Leave your thoughts in the comments section and don't forget to hit like if you found this video helpful. If you want to stay updated on the latest news and in-depth analysis of this royal scandal, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications now. We will continue to monitor and bring you the latest information. Welcome to the channel. In today's video, we're going to dive deep into a controversial and surprising issue. Meghan Markle caught the world's attention when she claimed that the UK is a racist country. But is she truly seeing the issue correctly? After all, both the head of the UK and the mayor of London have darker skin than she does. Does this mean the reality is different from what she's saying? What's even more interesting is that someone with dark skin like us, or even a heterosexual man, has never faced racial discrimination. In fact, they might face more prejudice for being a heterosexual man than for the color of their skin. So is Meghan fabricating a story, or is she trying to complicate things further? Let's explore the full truth right now. Don't forget to leave a comment with 1 if you resonate with this story, or 0 if you have a different perspective. Share your thoughts with us, like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss what happens next, where we'll reveal all the secrets in this story. She attacked an institution with a long history, one filled with many patriotic individuals who have dedicated their lives to serving the community and upholding long-standing values. Attacking and damaging this institution will undoubtedly cause many to feel dissatisfied and disillusioned with her, especially those who wish to live in a world free of racism where everyone is treated fairly and equally. And this is something I was taught from a young age. We should not be obsessed with someone's race, but instead we should judge people by their actions, virtues, and contributions to society. If you agree with this philosophy, you could be labeled as racist because in some cases, simply stating that race should not be overemphasized could make you a target of criticism. And I feel that Meghan has taken advantage of this to further her own agenda. Prince Harry, don't say anything more because he has become Meghan's companion, and in the eyes of many, he is no longer himself. Andrew Tate did not hold back in criticizing Meghan Markle, calling her the downfall of Prince Harry, and a prime example of a manipulated victim, someone who cannot escape the shadow of another person. Tate believes Meghan has lured Harry into a life from which he cannot escape, transforming him from a royal figure into a shadow of his former self, and this, in his view, is a clear case of sophisticated manipulation. Tate does not hesitate to attack fiercely, not only pointing out the issue but also expressing a strong opinion on Meghan's influence over Harry. According to him, this is not a tragic fairy tale but a complete cultural theft. He asserts that Meghan has ruined Harry, turning him from a prince into a joke. "She destroyed Harry," Tate bluntly states. "He was a prince, now he's just a joke." In Tate's view, Meghan has not only stripped Harry of what he once had, but has also reduced him to a shadow of his former self, clearly demonstrating the sophisticated manipulation on her part. Tate emphasizes that change and evolution are necessary every day in life, but he asserts that he is not a force for good. In fact, he believes he is merely a force for the truth, and the truth is what is good. Tate views that society must confront the truth regardless of criticism and opposition. He does not shy away from criticizing the manipulation he believes Meghan has exercised over Harry. In Tate's eyes, Harry's abandonment of his place in the royal family to accept a life from which he cannot escape is a surrender, a change that has neither evolution nor real freedom. Whether you admire Tate's bluntness or think he's dangerously provocative, one thing is undeniable. He's voicing what millions of people whisper behind closed doors. Tate is diving straight into the most sensitive issue of the conversation: race. While the media often portrays Meghan as a victim of persistent racism, Tate boldly calls BS on that. "She's lighter than me, and I've never cried over racism," he yells. The idea that she's hated because of her skin color is not just wrong, it's laughable. I'm not concerned about that. I refuse to live in an absolute fantasy world. Tate doesn't just dismiss the allegations of racism, he burns them. According to Tate, using race as a shield to avoid criticism is not only dishonest, but also an insult to those who truly endure racial prejudice. "Be realistic," he says. "People don't dislike Meghan because of her background. They dislike her because she's self-righteous, condescending, and plays the victim. We are on the verge of an absolute authoritarian and slave-like state, and it feels like we are beginning to push back against it. My cancellation is the beginning of a shift in public perception." Elon Musk having Twitter is another start similar to Tate's statements breaking through like a ram. For years, the public's hesitation to criticize Meghan stemmed from fear. Tate argues that this silence, rooted in fear, has allowed her to create an untouchable persona, one that makes her immune to responsibility. "You can't challenge her. You can't question her," he says, "because if you do, suddenly you become the villain." In Tate's view, justifying why she isn't liked by most is an evasion. Meghan Markle is not a young girl suffering from royal life. She is a master manipulator controlling Harry like a violin, and the symphony she composed is a melody of victimhood, emotional coercion, and identity politics. She knows exactly what she's doing, Tate says. She has used race tears. Hollywood allure everything to control the narrative, and Harry, he's fallen into her trap. Tate argues that any form of racism in everyday life is baseless and unfounded. He points out, "She's lighter than I am, and I'm sure I haven't suffered any racism, so I don't think race has anything to do with it." He suggests that the issue at hand is not rooted in race, but rather in Meghan's character. "She's just someone who's not liked," he states. In his view, the real issue is Meghan's lack of popularity and the way she's perceived by the public. The image Tate paints of Harry is harsh and unforgiving. Harry, once a rebellious, beloved figure within the royal family, has been reduced to nothing more than a shadow of his former self. His transformation, according to Tate, reflects the extent to which Meghan has manipulated and influenced him, pulling him away from his roots and the royal legacy he once embraced. For Tate, the real tragedy is not Meghan's rise. It's Harry's fault. He says Harry was the wild card, the soldier, the prince walking behind his mother's coffin, becoming a man respected by the world. Now he's become an empty shell. A man alienated from his family, detached from his roots, completely consumed by a woman who never truly embraced royal life. She isolated him, forced him to choose between her and his bloodline, and he chose poorly. What makes Tate's takedown explosive is not just what he says, but that he said it. In an age of performative wokeness and cancel culture, few dare challenge the official narrative about Meghan. Tate has shattered it. Society today, by any measure, is in complete failure. The cost of living crisis, crime rates, everything is collapsing. But according to Tate, the issue isn't Meghan or even Harry. The issue is a culture that refuses to call things by their real nature. The royal family was never the bad guy, he says. The media was never racist. The issue is that we live in a world where truth is overshadowed by emotions. Whether you love or hate him, Tate's comments have opened a door. Suddenly, people are starting to talk, reassessing what they thought they knew about Meghan, Harry, and everything else. This ties into one of your bigger themes that men today seem to be accepting the idea of becoming victims. Since that explosive interview, reactions have poured in from all corners of the internet. Meghan's supporters call Tate's words toxic masculinity on steroids, while those who criticize Sussex praise him as someone speaking the truth, finally saying what everyone else is too afraid to. With a wristwatch, you are a grown man. You are a fully mature man. When was the last time you had a serious issue in your life that you completely ignored and it just solved itself? Tate asks. Never. Never. What are any of our politicians doing to fix any of this? However, one thing is clear. Meghan Markle's public image is more fragile than ever, and if voices like Tate's continue to grow louder, the fairy tale that the Sussexes have been trying to write for themselves may not have a happy ending. Because the more layers are peeled away, a cold idea begins to take root in the listener's mind. Perhaps, just perhaps, Tate was right. One of the reasons a person becomes resilient and strong is because they have gone through great pain and trauma. However, instead of letting these wounds weaken them, they actually become the driving force that propels them towards success, helping them overcome life's challenges and difficulties. This shows that people can grow stronger from pain and suffering. If Tate brutally brought down Meghan Markle, his dissection of Prince Harry's collapse is not like an ordinary attack, but rather a cold, unforgiving surgery. However, the surprising truth is that Tate doesn't just blame Meghan in this story. He doesn't only criticize Meghan for negatively influencing Harry, but he also reserves his harshest blows for Prince Harry himself. He believes that Harry, once a rebellious and beloved royal, is now just a shadow of himself. Tate views Harry as someone who destroyed himself and lost his strength when he left the royal family. Harry's downfall is not only the result of manipulation, but also a voluntary choice where he abandoned his fame and responsibilities, turning himself into a character who is unrecognizable in the public eye. Did he do that? Absolutely unacceptable. What about the issue of race? I mentioned it in the context of the ongoing debate between Harry and Meghan, their war with the royal family, their fight against the monarchy. In Tate's eyes, Prince Harry is no longer a prince. He's not a royal rebel. He's not a dignified war veteran. He's a walking, talking warning sign, a living billboard for the emasculation of men in the 21st century. He's been castrated. He's lost public respect. He's lost the respect of the institution he was born into, and Meghan is entirely responsible for that, Tate claims. Indeed. The standard of masculinity is that bad things happen to you and you absorb them, use them, and evolve into a more capable individual. If you look back, Harry was the wild card of the royal family, a soldier, a man who witnessed combat carrying the legacy of Princess Diana and the weight of the crown he never asked for. But now, in Tate's unfiltered view, Harry has gone from battlefield resilience to confessions on Netflix and therapy sessions in Montecito. He has gone from fighting in Afghanistan to reading books about trauma and crying on Oprah's couch. Tate asks what happened to him and repeatedly alludes to the fact that they believe they were ousted due to racism in the UK. According to Tate, Harry didn't just love, he submitted. And the price of that submission was not only his royal status, but his masculinity. Tate doesn't stop at personal criticism. He zooms out and places Harry at the center of something much bigger, the global breakdown of masculinity. And to be empowered, you must go through some things. To become a good man, you have to lead a difficult life. If you look at any superhero, their life is tough. That's the reality of it. And I think the villain in his worldview, Harry, is not just a man losing himself in a relationship. He's a symbol of what happens when modern society tells men that being strong, stoic, or self-reliant is wrong. Tate emphasizes that to become a good man, you have to have a tough life. That's the truth. And society today is rewarding weakness and punishing strength. And Harry, he argues, is the perfect case study. Once a royal soldier embodying duty and resilience, now reduced to an influencer pushing a platform that distorts talking points to fit Hollywood's progressive narrative. That's an absolute fallacy. And he's biracial, right? His circumstances, yes. I'm biracial myself. And while we're discussing the leaders of the UK for centuries, the British royal family was built on ideals, traditions, honor, and an unwavering stoicism. In Andrew Tate's eyes, Prince Harry has broken that legacy. Not just by leaving, but by the way he left. Not with quiet dignity, not with respect, but by making his departure public through podcasts, Netflix specials, and public therapy sessions. All of this turned the monarchy into a soap opera where everything was exposed and became the subject of public attention. And while Meghan often bears the brunt of the criticism, Tate argues that Harry is not just a victim of his circumstances, he was complicit in his own unraveling. He wasn't dragged into this life, he chose it. By stepping into this world and becoming a part of the spectacle, Harry lost his identity and core values rather than maintaining a serious image worthy of the royal family's legacy. He traded his royal armor for a social media-friendly sob story. A straightforward man. I'd be discriminated against for that before I'd be discriminated against for my skin color. I think that's just an excuse for her. This is where Tate targets his weakness. In his eyes, Harry isn't just lost. He's been domesticated. A man once proud, now stripped of his sharpness, his identity, and perhaps most painfully, his respect. It's not just about Harry's personal choices. It's about the message those choices send to men everywhere. That tradition is oppressive, that stoicism is outdated, weakness is everything, and strength, that's taboo. People, you can't immediately stand up and say it's because of my skin color. It might be because of your actions and some things you've said. I think there's probably no doubt anymore that she's faced racism. Essentially, Tate's monologue isn't just a critique of Prince Harry. It's a war cry, a sharp warning to men everywhere about what happens when they abandon their own identity to fit someone else's narrative. And to Tate, Harry isn't just a man who lost his crown. He's a modern example of how masculinity itself is under siege. And perhaps that's the real tragedy. Not the scandals, not the royal statements, but the quiet, steady erosion of a man who once represented something bigger and now represents nothing at all. And that's a real epidemic we're suffering from in the West. In one of his harshest criticisms, Andrew Tate doesn't just criticize Meghan Markle, he crowns her as the queen of modern narcissism. Not for tabloid clicks, not for the clicks, but as a cultural blueprint, a case study of how image victimhood and personal branding now matter more than truth, tradition, and accountability. To Tate, Meghan isn't just a controversial duchess. She's a phenomenon. Because who doesn't have one that's one you can have? Yes, as I've said, I've received death threats on social media and no one seems to care much. Well, I think that's probably undeniable. The problem I have with them, forget the crown and the tea parties. Tate describes Meghan as the most influential person of the 21st century. Not the kind of person selling lip gloss on Instagram, but the kind who sells victimhood for profit. One moment she's royalty, the next, she's a survivor of institutional oppression. Then suddenly she launches American Riviera Orchard, a domestic goddess with jars of jam and luxury candles. To him, every scandal is just another marketing opportunity. Every tear on camera is another step in her rebranding process, and every public incident, whether with the royal family Spotify or her own family, is just more material for her next chapter. Tate's accusation is blunt. Meghan never wanted the royal family. She wants their platform to be comfortable with it. People also feel uncomfortable talking about race. He claims she didn't join the palace to serve. She entered to leverage the global prestige of the royal brand to push her own. And once that system no longer served her story, she burned it down and rewrote herself as a wounded heroine. The bad guy and your ideas should be dismissed. And they failed me completely irrationally. And now people are starting to realize they were just lying. And now you're back on Twitter. You told me you left the platform the first time you were banned with 88,000 followers. How many followers do you have now, after a few weeks? Well, I've been back for 2 weeks. And when the world saw the royal family uphold their old mantra of never complaining, never explaining, Meghan embraced the opposite: public confessions, emotional interviews, and storytelling on Netflix, blurring the line between healing and hustling. If you're going to make accusations against an institution like the royal family and the monarchy, you really need to provide some evidence. You can't just spew this stuff and say, oh, someone's being racist. Right. Tate doesn't just call Meghan manipulative. He calls her a symbol. He believes she represents a larger social change, a place where people no longer seek truth but validation, a place where victimhood is power, where reputation is built not on service or talent but on drama, division, and buzzwords. That you are a dangerous person because you inspire people to think. They will come and they will turn virtue into a weapon. They will pick a buzzword. Racism, homophobia, misogyny, some buzzwords you can't argue with. They will take it. They will slap it on you. They'll stir up the media machine and try to spin it. According to this view, Meghan's greatest talent isn't acting or charity work. It's her ability to control the narrative, knowing how to flip public perception, how to play both the underdog and the icon, and how to turn every headline, good or bad, into brand value. She'll never be respected by the public. And being a snitch will never earn the respect of the people. And I think the issue with the modern world we live in is that so many long-standing traditions are being dismantled in real time. No matter what might be the most controversial, Tate continues to criticize the issue of race, this time accusing Meghan of using identity as a weapon. She admits she never faced racism until she joined the royal family, he points out. And even then, her statements remain vague, passing, and conveniently made. For Tate, Meghan's story isn't one of mistreatment. It's one of projection. A cleverly constructed campaign rebranding accountability into oppression and ambition into activism. No one looks at her and thinks, oh, look at how dark your skin is. So it's hard to believe this is the perspective she's aiming for, and it seems no one else is seeing it that way. The most chilling aspect of Tate's argument is this. He doesn't think Meghan is an exception. He believes she is a prototype for a new generation of public figures, self-absorbed individuals cloaked in the guise of empowerment influencers masquerading as victims and people who value attention over authenticity. This is a generation where superficiality and the need for constant validation have taken precedence over genuine actions and meaningful connections. She represents everything wrong with modern culture. He says it's not about doing good, it's about looking good while playing the victim. Something like the British royal family, which has been around for a long time, is an old tradition. One of the things that binds the UK together, one of the last things we have to sit there and insult and give away. And with each curated post, every interview with Oprah, and every lifestyle launch, Meghan proves one thing. You don't need the truth to be powerful. You just need a story that people are too afraid to question. Because in this new era of fame, perception is everything. And Meghan, she has mastered that. Does Meghan really represent the wrongs in modern culture? Or is she using perception to gain power? Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on upcoming videos where we'll continue to dive into controversial stories and reveal the truth behind what's really going on. And it allows you to have ideas within a vacuum where you can develop stories that are never direct. But according to Tate, the cost of this mastery isn't just Harry's crown or the British monarchy. It's the erosion of truth, the veneration of self-obsession, and the rise of a culture where narcissism wears a halo and dares you to contradict it. Trying to paint a negative image of it will upset many people. And you must prepare for that backlash. You can't say, I've done things that upset people, but it has nothing to do with what I did. It's all because of my skin color. Furthermore, for Andrew Tate, the story of Meghan and Harry is merely a symptom, not the disease. The real disease is a modern world where the truth is shackled, freedom of speech is put on trial, and the media no longer reports but commands. Tate says, "We live in an era where stories are created, inconvenient truths are buried, and anyone daring to question the narrative is labeled dangerous. This is not just about royalty." He says the main issue is about control. According to Tate, she acts this way because she's not black, and that complicates everything. It's funny sitting here watching her sit there and say, "I think the truth is I don't know what's going on." It's ironic that she can say that, but Tate can't. However, Tate understands better than most the price one pays for challenging the narrative society has constructed. He wasn't just heavily criticized, he was even completely erased. This shift in his life is a reflection of how society treats those who dare to question and challenge widely accepted beliefs. Almost every major social media platform banned him. News outlets have defamed him. Activists called for him to be completely silenced. He's been branded a misogynist, a bigot, a danger to society. But even though he's been completely shut down, something crazy happened. He got stronger, and racism is one of them. You're absolutely right. People can simply shout that they are being racially discriminated against, and you're not allowed to challenge that idea. And I stand up and say that I don't think the issues with public perception about Meghan have anything to do with it. And that's where Tate flips the lens. He doesn't just see himself as a controversial figure. He sees himself as proof that free speech is no longer protected. It's allowed as long as it fits the approved narrative. According to Tate, we are being conditioned not to see reality, to politely nod at lies, swallowing contradictions without flinching. Tate believes modern society is suffering from intellectual tyranny, where questioning anything from race to gender to vaccines is considered heresy. You want to speak out about corruption? You're a conspiracy theorist. You have concerns about social agendas. You're bigoted. Criticizing a public figure like Meghan Markle. You're racist. It's true. I just don't know the details of the racism she says she went through. It's a tight ecosystem where thought crimes are punished by being silenced, mocked, or exiled from society. People are afraid to think, afraid to speak, afraid to feel. That's not freedom, that's programming, Tate says. However, especially the fact that she's not even particularly dark-skinned. I find it odd when so many people stand up to defend her. I've seen so many black liberals from all over the world stand up to defend her, talking about the race card race. In this manipulated culture, Tate argues authenticity is dead. What matters now is not the truth, but the image. Stories are edited like Instagram feeds with victims sold as virtues. And in this environment, Meghan Markle thrives. For her, it's not just about being protected, she's been elevated. A flawless story with built-in immunity. Criticism is dismissed as hatred, doubts are silenced. The truth is too risky to touch. She surpasses expectations not because she deserves it, but because the media has made her untouchable. She is not just a victim, but a star. Her story is protected, but there's an injustice in how others are treated, especially when Tate speaks up. Andrew Tate doesn't just criticize Meghan, but targets a system that protects those who conform, silences free speech, and punishes those who speak the truth. The feeling of being censored and controlled creates a culture where truth can be hidden or twisted. Tate sees the fight not just as Meghan or her supporters, but as a global struggle against a system that makes those who speak the truth into enemies. In Tate's view, this isn't just about one individual, it's about society. When people choose silence over action, when they close their eyes to the truth, the system wins. Tate continues to speak out, refusing to bow down, asserting that his survival is not just personal victory, but a resistance to an all-encompassing system of control. Tate criticizes not only Meghan, but also Huang Tu Harry, who has become a model of an emotionally fragile generation that seeks validation over power and responsibility. While Harry seeks healing, Tate thrives in adversity. Harry looks to confront his wounds, but Tate has built a brand on confrontation, unafraid of challenge. The comparison between Harry and Tate isn't random. Tate argues that Harry has abandoned core masculine values such as strength and independence. He believes those like Harry are hindering progress in masculinity. Tate is confident in breaking old rules, while Harry bends himself to fit into a society that Tate sees as lacking lasting values. Harry is now more than just a royal without a crown. He's a symbol of lost direction. His struggle is not just personal, but emblematic of those seeking validation in a world where media holds the power. While Hollywood and media create idealized images, Harry feels like an outsider belonging nowhere. Harry left his family and royal duties to find freedom, but in the end, he found only isolation. He no longer knows who he is, and this leaves him disconnected from both his past and his future. What he's left with is loneliness, a harsh lesson about sacrifice that cannot be avoided in life. Andrew Tate, despite being criticized and pushed to the fringes, remains resolute in exposing the truths he believes are hidden. In a world where everything seems controlled and concealed, Tate insists on the importance of standing up and speaking the truth. He condemns those who remain silent, ignoring reality because of fear and the desire for approval. People like Tate are a sign that despite the control and suppression, there are those willing to face the truth. Tate sits shirtless in a lavish complex discussing discipline dominance and the concept of being cancel-proof. It's not just a divide in lifestyle, but also an ideological divide. In the Tate-Harry story, you're labeled a racist, sexist, and a woman hater. Tate laughs and insists it's obvious. It's crazy, isn't it? They call me racist, but I'm biracial from the start. Tate argues that Harry has built his post-royal brand around emotional exposure therapy talks and self-help podcasts, which Harry and Meghan have turned into an empire based on empathy and public vulnerability. According to Tate, that makes them a symbol of a generation that no longer confronts challenges head-on. Tate argues that Meghan not only hurt Prince Harry, but also symbolically weakened him. She turned him into a mascot for modern male passivity and sold their relationship like a reality TV show. This is a brutal accusation against Meghan and Harry's complicity in the process. According to Tate, Harry's downfall was not a kidnapping, but a voluntary surrender. "This scene crosses the line," Tate said. "It's incredibly offensive." Tate strongly criticizes Prince Harry's decision to walk away from his royal family, his country, and the military legacy he was part of. According to Tate, Harry didn't make this choice for peace or personal growth, but rather to promote and build a brand, one that was embraced by Netflix. Tate argues that this shift in Harry's life has turned him into someone unrecognizable, not the man he once was. Instead of being the royal figure many admired, Harry now represents a brand and a narrative that Tate sees as far removed from his original identity. And that's why the attempt to cancel me didn't work. Tate continues, pointing to his own experience. "People will search for me wherever I go on the internet because they know I speak the truth." The debate between Tate and Harry is not just a story of two individuals, but a battle between two different perspectives on masculinity. On one side, we have the gentle, vulnerable man who expresses himself. On the other, there is the resilient, strong, unrepentant man. Tate believes that masculinity is not about emotional expression, but about bearing responsibility, power, and resilience. In his eyes, Harry is no longer the rock he once was, but a warning sign of what's missing in modern society. Harry now seems to belong to neither the British royal family nor the media world. He is a man without a country, with nowhere to call home. This is a royal tragedy that Shakespeare might have written if the throne had been exchanged for a Netflix contract and the crown for a podcast microphone. Harry, once the beloved wild child of the monarchy, now seems trapped between two worlds that neither fully accepts him. Tate asserts that racism is not the issue in the UK. How then do we have a prime minister who's darker than her, a mayor of London who's darker than her? Tate questions. He then emphasizes that regardless of how you view yourself, Tate remains steadfast in his mission to restore traditional masculinity and expose what he sees as his enemies. And now Harry, or what he has become, is his biggest adversary. Harry's isolation, a man without a country or a planet, reflects a royal tragedy that many fail to fully grasp. Once the beloved wild child of the British monarchy, Harry now finds himself lost between two worlds not fully accepted by either side. His connection to the royal family has dissolved, burned away by interviews, accusations, and a memoir that leaves no room for ambiguity. Human beings and their skin color have nothing to do with this. It's ironic that no one wants to stand up and point out the obvious, that she is not seen like everyone else. On the other side, Hollywood, the land of reinvention, glitzy, progressive, and performative, but even there, Harry still doesn't quite feel like he belongs. Despite multi-million-dollar deals and star-studded events, he walks the red carpet like a guest who's overstayed his welcome. Wow, look how dark-skinned you are. It's hard to believe this is the perspective she's aiming for, and it seems no one wants to bring it up. And I don't understand why. Well, have you wondered if this is part of the Andrew Tate phenomenon? Because the bridge between Harry and the monarchy hasn't just been burned, it's been bombed. Harry and Meghan accused the company of racism, neglect, and calculated cruelty. The Queen maintained her dignity. Charles remained silent. William seemed to age 10 years overnight. But behind the royal calmness, there's a clear message: you chose your path. Keep walking. Sometimes pointing out the obvious to the point of bleeding, as you said, is impossible in the mainstream media. But Harry did that. He walked away from traditions, obligations, the cold palace, and a disciplined life. But in doing so, he didn't just lose a title. He lost a foundation. The people he had known his whole life suddenly became part of the enemy. In a world where we've seen harsh restrictions on free speech in recent years, yes, people are afraid to say that water is wet. And then I stepped in and said that water is wet, and everyone silently agreed. The coronation was awkward. Family reunions don't exist. His relationship with his brother, once unbreakable, is now nearly gone. And the press back home, they've gone from calling him a hero to seeing him as a heretic. You're right. It's terrifying how society is manipulated to the point where we pretend not to see everything and ignore our own eyes because we're afraid to speak out. It's terrifying. I mean, this is about race and family legacies, etc. But you can apply it to escape plans, California content deals, and brand partnerships that were never as perfect as they seemed. At first, Harry and Meghan were the darlings of Hollywood, the exiled royals, the charming victims of ancient oppression. Oprah gave them a seat, Netflix gave them millions, Spotify gave them a microphone. People saw everything and were afraid to comment on it. And this is where you truly step into the world of slavery, when you ignore your own feelings because you're scared to speak up and tell the truth. And I feel like I'm in a position of semi-privilege. They have. But fairy tales don't last long in LA, especially stories that keep dragging on with the same plot. Their Netflix series failed to win over the public emotionally. Spotify publicly canceled their deal. Meghan's podcast was stalled. And now the very world they hoped would embrace them is starting to whisper the same thing the royal family did. Enough. Hollywood likes a weak underdog, but they prefer a fresher face. So now, Harry is no longer a royal rebel. He's just another celebrity with a complicated past, and his media fan base is slowly shrinking. It's clear that they've relied on these big tech platforms for a long time to earn their income. So how can he overthrow that when he's been canceled? Yes, I've been thinking a lot. So now what is Harry if he's no longer a royal and not quite a media mogul? Then who is he? This is where the true tragedy begins. He has given up one identity without fully securing another. And in the void between those two identities, there is emptiness. Before I decided to become famous on these platforms, I knew my finances were always secured. And when they tried to cancel me, the man who once flew helicopters in Afghanistan is now promoting therapy apps and recounting his pain. The boy who once followed Princess Diana's coffin with silent strength now cries in front of the camera, self-analyzing so the world can see. I reached a critical threshold where people understand that what I say is true and genuinely beneficial to society. And after 3 years of living and emotional growth, I can't help but feel that Harry is bound. He's lost the foundation of his past, yet hasn't found a solid one for his future. He is a royal without a kingdom, a soldier without a mission. His legacy is now shaped by what he has left behind, not by what he has built. The pandemic, I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say this, but I will. The imaginary pandemic and the other frauds are real. In the journey of seeking acceptance, has Harry lost it all? He tried to rewrite the story, but did he unintentionally erase himself in the process? He's looking for validation from a world nourished by rumors, thriving on reinvention with no loyalty. Hollywood doesn't easily give second chances, and the monarchy rarely forgives public betrayal. I don't mean to say that CO doesn't exist as a disease, but when you control the semantics and the narrative of a situation, you control how people react. If you say the pandemic shows up in the news, then now Harry stands alone, not part of the royal family, not part of Hollywood, a global figure who no longer belongs anywhere. He traded a castle for content duty for a deal. In the end, perhaps love is not enough to keep him grounded. When the noise dies down, the book tours end and the cameras stop rolling what is left. But overall, I ask you a sincere question. Do you see the pandemic, isn't it? That you see everyone wearing masks because everyone is wearing them. Have you watched the news? A man who has walked away from everything and now realizes that perhaps everything has walked away from him. Isolation doesn't always mean physical distance. Sometimes the greatest silence comes from no longer knowing who you are. And in that silence, Harry may be facing the most painful truth of all. He left to find freedom, but all he found was loneliness. and I think people are waking up to that. But I also truly feel sorry. We are at the intersection of controversy and a culture that raises questions no one seems to agree on. Is Andrew Tate lifting the curtain to expose uncomfortable truths, or is he just setting the stage on fire to watch it burn? Because whether you love or hate him, you cannot ignore the storm he's stirred. In a world where information and power can be manipulated, can we truly see things clearly and fairly? You still feel fear even though you still have the New York Times, one of the most famous and powerful newspapers in the world. You still have independent media voices that oppose the mainstream are still being heard. You still have a gun, a symbol of personal power and the ability to protect yourself. So is that man, who might be speaking up in this unstable world, truly the voice of reason in a world where everyone is afraid to speak plainly? Or is he simply a representative of a weaponized form of masculinity, something that makes people fear and obey? Is what he's doing really an act of restoring traditional values, things that have been considered the foundation of society? Or is it really a strategy to shout louder than everyone else, to sell his power and push a narrative of fear in order to create influence and personal gain? All these questions reflect deep concerns about manipulation and power in modern society, especially when the truth is sometimes overshadowed by unclear motives and intentions. This highlights the importance of how they teach us to ignore our own eyes. You don't see the pandemic, but you keep walking around talking about it. When they can convince you to disregard your senses, the enslavement is complete. They know this. And in that roar, Tate laid everything bare, accusing Meghan Markle not only of taking down a man, but turning the monarchy into a personal empire. Tate portrayed Harry not as a victim of love, but as a cautionary tale. He's not just a person carrying the weight of a complicated past, but a living example of a generation facing burdens from unavoidable legacies. Now he carries a microphone and a memoir, but his reality has completely changed. Things are no longer the same. They can only tell you that the sky is blue and you're expected to sit down and comply with what they say. And that's exactly what they fear. They fear people like me, those who don't just passively accept everything, but inspire others to stand up and say, "No, I don't see that and I don't agree." So we've reached the end of this discussion. Has Harry been destroyed, or did he voluntarily disappear? Was Meghan the one who orchestrated his downfall? Or did Harry hand the crown over to her as Tate, right in criticizing Harry? Or is he just shouting into the void? Has she ruined Harry, or did he choose to surrender? And is Andrew Tate speaking the truth that many are too afraid to acknowledge? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Type 1 if you believe the truth will be revealed, or 0 if you think it will continue to be hidden. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any updates on this shocking story. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. When the FBI starts tracking your every move, it's no longer just a rumor, it's a serious investigation. Recently, a leaked internal file revealed that Meghan Markle is officially under FBI surveillance by federal order. This shocking development is directly tied to complex cases involving the royal family and national security. Everything began when Princess Charlotte's personal school records were accessed without authorization. Security experts uncovered digital traces linked to someone formerly associated with Meghan's team. This wasn't a random act, it was a deliberate attack, targeting Charlotte's most sensitive data from her schedule to classroom locations and frequently used entrances. If you find this story interesting, drop a 1 in the comments. If not, leave a 0. Don't forget to like, share, and comment your thoughts down below. We want to hear from you. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on more exciting videos about royal stories. Now let's dive into the story. When the incident was discovered, internal staff were instructed to remain silent. The matter was handled discreetly and not made public following directives from higher authorities. The UK's MI5 coordinated with US counterintelligence experts to analyze the digital footprint. While they were initially searching for signs of foreign intrusion, they instead uncovered an email address linked to a former staffer who had worked directly with Meghan. Coincidentally, this individual was in London at the time, attending a series of informal media meetings. This was no longer seen as a coincidence. The overlap in timing and location led investigators to shift their focus toward the possibility of deliberate internal interference. The situation escalated just a day later. Surveillance logs recorded one of Meghan's close personal assistants appearing at a small cafe in Notting Hill, directly across from a company that specializes in handling media data leaks. This company had previously been involved in major cases tied to tabloid scandals. Then a Twitter account named Monarch Files suddenly posted a cryptic message alluding to a breach in a school system precisely on June 23rd. The tweet caused a stir because it matched details that investigators had been keeping confidential, raising suspicions that information from inside the investigation had been leaked. A source within the FBI revealed that the surveillance order contained a particularly notable line. The subject exhibits behavior consistent with coordinated access activity. This elevated the investigation to a whole new level, shifting it from a private matter to a potential national security concern. The so-called royal data mines, the internal term used for classified documents related to the royal family, were suspected to be the next target. The investigation was launched under an interagency counterintelligence directive, not only to identify those responsible, but also to prevent further consequences. Beneath the surface of silence lies a tightening chain of events. Figures once seen as symbols of the modern royal image are now being drawn into a web of suspicion. But the lesson here isn't about determining who is right or wrong in the moment. It's about understanding that when you step into a system as vast as the royal family or the government, every action, even personal ones, can lead to collective consequences. Reputation, trust, and security cannot be safeguarded by silence alone. Why would anyone on Meghan Markle's team need detailed access to the daily schedule of a 9-year-old child? That question prompted authorities to take the matter seriously. When the FBI decided to initiate cross-border surveillance, the severity of the situation became undeniable. From deleted tweets to vague social media statements and the media's attempts to downplay the issue, investigators spent hours analyzing, cross-referencing, and verifying every detail. In this context, public reliance on official verified sources became more crucial than ever. Only through careful fact-checking can we avoid misleading speculation that fuels confusion and fear. Not long after the first leak was discovered, word spread quickly within internal circles. According to an FBI source, 2 digital forensics specialists were immediately deployed to investigate all activity connected to Meghan, not just her known devices like phones and computers, but also disposable devices, encrypted messaging apps, and even the Slack platform used internally by the Archwell Foundation. The goal was to determine whether anyone had accessed sensitive information or if these devices had been exploited as unauthorized entry points. But it didn't stop there. According to several investigative sources, there were multiple attempts to access additional folders within the royal family's internal systems. These folders contained not only records of charity events, but also travel schedules of royal family members, security protocols for official trips, and even the personal time allocation system for Princess Kate. This led authorities to conclude that the incident was not merely about unauthorized access, It appeared to be a deliberate targeted effort to gather comprehensive classified data about the entire royal family.
I think the girls with their nails done now.
An anonymous intelligence source in the UK revealed, "This isn't simple curiosity. The digital intrusion was structured around a systematic model, and the targets appear to be narrowing in on the most vulnerable individuals, including children." If that's true, then what lies behind this case may be an organized espionage campaign, not an isolated incident. In response, the UK deployed its Cyber Threat Response Unit, a force typically reserved for emergency scenarios such as cyber terrorism or critical infrastructure attacks, to handle the breach discreetly. This level of intervention reflects the gravity of a situation previously considered beyond the scope of ordinary civilian agencies or even Parliament. Security experts suggest this rare move signals that the case could carry implications for national security or the royal family's strategic reputation. Although no public evidence has been released, the investigation indicates that information suppression, media control, and deliberate cover-ups have played a key role in crisis management. What stands out is that even as the case remains under thorough investigation, the public both inside and outside royal circles has begun asking a pressing question. Are these actions merely intended to protect Meghan personally, or are they part of a larger scheme aimed at gaining access to information about some of the most powerful figures in the world?
I think the girls with their nails done now.
Although Meghan's name does not appear explicitly in the public documents, the phrase "close royal associate" in the United States is mentioned over 20 times in the redacted summary. The FBI expanded surveillance to include all devices registered under the Sussex family name in Montecito, ranging from intercepting Wi-Fi signals from nearby cell towers and collecting voice data via AI to serving at least 2 subpoenas to major U.S. telecom providers. This was not merely a precautionary measure, it was a comprehensive surveillance operation. On July 1st, a well-known cybersecurity expert on Twitter, known as the Digital Barrister, posted that Meghan's traffic data had spiked sharply around the time of the breach. The online community and royal analysts were shaken by this, as it seemed someone was hiding something. But the real shock came when an FBI insider revealed they had collected audio recordings from around Meghan's home under legal orders targeting foreign-influenced espionage activities. This was not just a violation of privacy, but an unprecedented surveillance operation in history. It's still unclear what was actually overheard, but Washington and Westminster were thrown into turmoil upon learning that the FBI believed it had enough evidence to trigger international cooperation within the Five Eyes alliance. Brief snippets of conversation suggested Meghan discussed damage control in the event of data leaks and mentioned a master file whose location was unknown. That very night, the FBI sent a formal diplomatic inquiry to the UK, asking whether the palace had ever authorized Meghan to retain or possess classified documents related to children, to which the royal side gave a firm no. On July 4th, the UK security agency released an internal report titled Risk Assessment of Sovereign Exploitation Networks, External Access. Meghan's name was initially included in the report, but was quickly removed, suggesting that someone from her former team helped draft it. On July 5th, a tweet from the head of the Windsor Watch blog revealed that a former Archewell employee had emailed a link connecting Meghan's personal phone to real-time schedule access in May, prompting observers to question whether the entire U.S. Congress was caught off guard by a security event of this scale. However, the investigation is not only targeting Meghan, but also anyone involved or who aided in the matter. Among them are several senior aides who have remained silent until now, along with an unnamed Hollywood repair expert believed to have hired cloud data cover-up services to avoid detection. In California, sources report that Meghan began having daily unrecorded phone calls with a former political strategist in Washington, D.C. This individual had previously worked with crisis management teams during past political campaigns. So what is Meghan preparing for? A source who reviewed call transcripts revealed a striking statement just days after the breach of Princess Charlotte's school records shook public opinion. "If they come for me, I'll keep everything. If they want war, we'll show them the truth." But whose truth is this? And what is Meghan holding that has the royal palace so concerned? By July 7th, a redacted internal memo began circulating among UK intelligence partners titled Operation Mind Vault Phase 2, Subject Sussex M. This document included metadata analysis, location information, and communication logs over a suspicious 4-week period. 3 key points stood out first. Meghan's encrypted calls spiked the night before Princess Charlotte's school records were accessed. Second, there were multiple data transmissions to an unverified IP address routed through Berlin, an address previously flagged in a diplomatic leak investigation. And lastly, and most concerning, is an audio recording reportedly capturing Meghan mentioning a resetting of the narrative before Charlotte became untouchable. An anonymous intelligence official said the phrase untouchable immediately raised tensions, implying that Charlotte, as a future face of the monarchy, is being monitored not just symbolically, but with strategic significance. It was no surprise that on the morning of July 9th, the FBI officially filed a request to extend cooperation with MI5 and MI6, citing prolonged concerning behavioral patterns and digital data. A royal commentator at Palace Pulse UK tweeted at 9:14 a.m. that day, revealing MI6 had confirmed Operation Ivy as a serious coordinated effort. Meghan's name appears in 3 security documents under the codename Subject 1. This is no longer speculation, but a confirmed fact. The royal palace is under immense pressure not only from internal forces, but also from increasing public and parliamentary scrutiny demanding transparent answers. Yet Meghan remains completely silent. No denials, no comments from her lawyers, and no social media posts. This silence has only heightened tensions and fueled more speculation than ever before. Because this is the first time in the entire story that there are no distractions, no news about the baby, no disruptive articles or podcasts, no staged outings, just questions and a mountain of clues pointing towards something deeper, something carefully orchestrated and potentially dangerous. On July 10th, just as the media began circling like vultures, a new twist emerged. A whistleblower believed to be a junior analyst at a cybersecurity contractor secretly leaked an internal FBI summary to an independent journalist in Brussels. Within hours, a 17-page PDF quietly spread across encrypted Telegram channels under the title Subject M1 Timeline of Near Events and Unusual Triggers. This was not a public document, but once leaked, no one could stop it from continuing to spread. The analysts in this document mapped out Meghan's physical and digital movements in detail, not only during the days leading up to the school records breach, but also throughout the following 2 weeks. Highlights include a flagged incident on June 18th, when Meghan was located outside a high-security telecommunications facility in Virginia for 19 minutes, despite having no scheduled appointments or any security logs recording her presence. A decrypted phone log shows that just 16 hours after Princess Charlotte's records were accessed, there was a simple entry done. "I need reasonable distance." The most shocking part is an internal FBI agent's message dated July 1st, stating Subject M1 continues to use identity-concealing tactics across public and private channels, growing concern over RA's strategy to undermine goodwill toward royal family members. If you find this story interesting and want to keep exploring, don't forget to like, share the video, and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any of our exciting content. Now let's continue the story. A Twitter user at Buckingham Watcher wrote, "All right, this is truly a comprehensive blacklist. The FBI has a file on Meghan related to a strategy aimed at undermining public goodwill toward Princess Charlotte's image. The public shifted from curiosity to outrage, but official channels remained silent. Buckingham Palace issued no comment. The FBI declined to confirm the leak. Meanwhile, Meghan Chi was spotted getting into a black SUV in Montecito, her face covered and protected by private security. No words were spoken, only escalating tension. Because whatever is happening, this is no longer a simple breach. This is a systemic exposure. This is an organized campaign. And if the rumors are true, this is just the beginning." By July 11th, the silence gave way to whispers that quickly turned into internal alarm bells. Inside, MI6 officials reportedly received a diplomatic briefing revealing that the FBI was preparing for a formal investigative exchange, a rare but not unprecedented protocol for sharing high-level intelligence findings among allied nations. Issues related to national security or even global security always draw attention. But what sets this case apart? The subject is not an anonymous hacker or a foreign spy. It is Meghan Markle. Now, the case file has been marked sensitive because it involves cross-border risks. The core of the matter revolves around the hypothesis that Meghan's close circle deliberately orchestrated a series of small disruptions. The goal was to undermine public trust in royal protocols, as well as their child-rearing capabilities. It all began with carefully calculated information leaks, amplified PR tactics, and has now escalated to allegations of unauthorized access to internal school systems. A now-deleted Reddit post by a former communications advisor caused a stir with its cryptic claims. According to the post, Meghan's team carried out simulated charity activities to craft an innocent image, then coordinated these efforts with deliberate leaks related to Princess Kate's parenting style. The aim of all this was to shape future media headlines in their favor. The breach of the internal school system was not a random mistake, but seen as a deliberate escalation. A tweet from royal reporter Henry Shaw provided the clearest summary of the situation, although MI6 has yet to issue an official comment on the matter. But as soon as the FBI opened an investigation file titled Cross-Jurisdictional Risk Involving a Royal Figure, the matter went beyond mere rumors or hearsay. It became a complex diplomatic nightmare with widespread repercussions. Inside the palace, the atmosphere has noticeably shifted. Princess Kate was seen entering a closed security meeting at Kensington, accompanied by 2 senior aides. Although the press was barred from access, a camera lens caught a glimpse of her tense, inscrutable expression, far from passive. A source close to the royal family revealed, "She is no longer just protecting the crown, she's protecting her daughter. And if that means exposing Meghan, she's ready to do it." From there, the story began to take a darker turn. It was no longer just about surveillance. It had become a covert strategic battle between factions. Meghan's name was now deeply entangled at the heart of a complex power struggle with unpredictable consequences. Yet she still hasn't uttered a word, not to the press, not to lawyers, not even to Harry. That silence isn't a strategy, it's fear, because once the FBI and MI6 start comparing notes, there will be nowhere left to hide. Within 24 hours after the MI6 memorandum reached the security advisors in Parliament, a second file emerged, this time from an internal Whitehall source. The document, titled Escalation Potential Royal Media Interference, contained chilling details. In early June, an email signature flagged as belonging to a known associate in Meghan's digital team pinged a server linked to the United Nations Foundation. This message attempted to retrieve archived data from Kate Middleton's 2022 speech addressing girls on cybersecurity and online safety. This wouldn't usually be surprising unless the recipient was not coerced. It was an external contact from an NGO that had been flagged back in 2021 for spreading misinformation about the royal family. This was becoming increasingly impossible to ignore. A tweet from a Cyber Intel Watch on July 13th summarized the situation. Multiple devices connected to Meghan's network were pinging at the same time Princess Charlotte's school records were compromised. This timing was no longer a random coincidence. The FBI had begun monitoring the young princess even before the breach occurred that very day. An anonymous source is said to have contacted a former BBC reporter with a cryptic message. "You think this stops at the school records? They're just starting to connect the dots." Meghan knows exactly what she's doing. The journalist who chose not to publish the full quote and only highlighted the bolded first line emphasized that this is no longer tabloid sensationalism, but a genuine threat to diplomatic stability. Meanwhile, Harry has completely faded into obscurity. He hasn't appeared publicly, hasn't commented to the press, nor made any moves online except for one strange moment caught by paparazzi. Harry was seen entering a private security firm in Los Angeles, disheveled, holding a folder stamped with the royal crest. Rumors started spreading. Has he betrayed them? Is he trying to protect his children? And ultimately, will he be briefed on what Meghan has kept from him? Back in London, Kate is preparing something. An insider revealed that she has begun compiling an official timeline, a private log of every suspicious event since 2021, every anonymous PR attack, every charitable overlap, and every headline that smelled like a setup. According to a palace source, she's not waiting to be rescued. She's building a dossier. And somewhere in a restricted database, Meghan Markle's name is now linked to one of the most unprecedented cross-border digital surveillance operations involving a royal figure spanning decades. The issue isn't whether she will respond, but whether she still can. By July 14th, the UK Parliament's Home Affairs Committee convened an urgent late-night session. The topic was unauthorized digital intrusions from foreign sources targeting senior minors. One name was redacted from the minutes, but the first two letters weren't. That same night, an encrypted chat log between two parliamentary aides was leaked online. The news remains unconfirmed but was widely shared on X before being deleted within hours. One message read, "She tried to spin a story before the evidence was released, but the school's access logs don't lie. We're not dealing with a PR issue. We're dealing with espionage." The word espionage trended for 7 hours. And at the center of it all, Meghan Markle tweeted from an account based in Windsor on July 14th. "I can now confirm that Meghan was under passive surveillance for 22 consecutive days leading up to the breach. She is not the subject of an investigation, she is the target." And if that wasn't enough, the press has obtained what appears to be an initial FBI field note dated June 26th. The document, stamped with a joint UK-US cooperation seal, lists Meghan Markle as a person of interest related to digital intrusions affecting members of the royal family. The wording is vague, but the implication is clear. Even the international media have caught on. CNN's headline reads, "The Digital Ghost." Meghan Markle's alleged link to the royal data leak has triggered an FBI investigation. Sky News went even further with the fallout from the royal data breach. Was Meghan under surveillance all along? And finally, a breakthrough quote from a former FBI digital analyst aired live. "This is no coincidence. They don't surveil people like her unless there's a serious cause. Something has crossed legal boundaries." Inside the palace, Tate is said to be deeply distressed but remains focused. She reportedly told her closest aide, "I never wanted this to become a war, but protecting Charlotte isn't about politics. It's something primal." Meanwhile, Harry was seen flying alone to a location near Zurich on a private jet, not one chartered by Meghan but owned by an old royal ally. No staff, no press, no comment. Just silence. And that silence is the loudest sound yet. What happened next? Completely shattered all illusions. Late on the night of July 14th, the Daily Mail published a shocking investigative report, a series of leaked emails allegedly from Meghan's personal support inbox, now in the hands of the FBI. The forensic analysis contained a chilling subject line that was confirmed, awaiting second login access, accompanied by a forwarded message from a spoofed email address. The message read, "Access path to Charlotte's school archive has been approved. Time sensitive. Handle with care." Investigators traced the IP origin to a private network in Los Angeles. That location matched a rental property previously known to be linked to one of Meghan's secure accounts, which she used during her Spotify contract period. The FBI confirmed the authenticity of the email header's metadata. They did not say Meghan sent the message, but neither did they deny that she was aware of it. At exactly 6:12 a.m. GMT on July 15th, an old post from the user Truth in Palace went viral. These emails are not fake. The assistant has turned against her. Meghan's silence is not strategy, it's survival. The real twist, the assistant pointed out, was that a parliamentary hearing was scheduled to take place within 48 hours. However, just hours after the leak, she was placed under MI6 protection. A senior parliamentary aide confirmed this to Reuters. Her cooperation came as a surprise, but it opened new doors for the entire operation. Across the Atlantic, Meghan's legal team issued a low-key response. "Our client denies any wrongdoing and will not comment on anonymous digital leaks. We are pursuing multiple defamation lawsuits." But nobody believed it. Even American news outlets began to shift their tone. A CNN panelist remarked, "This is not just drama. It's edging toward criminal strategy, surveillance, cyber attacks, and unauthorized access to children's schools. This is national security." Behind closed doors, senior members of the royal family are now holding secret meetings with British intelligence officials. This is an unprecedented move since the Dion scandal. All security measures around Princess Charlotte have been doubled, and Meghan is no longer just a thorn in the royal family's side. She is being monitored with far greater seriousness. As the leaked FBI file information subsides, the story takes a final chilling turn. A new internal memo dated July 13th is said to have been circulating within British intelligence circles. The article warns of ongoing cyber attacks linked to an IP address based in California connected to unauthorized investigations into the royal staff archives and protocols. Simply put, someone is still digging. Even after the Charlotte school breach, even after the insider betrayal, these operations have not stopped. That's when the name Operation Ivy resurfaced. MI6 officials refused to confirm whether Meghan was the asset previously codenamed under that operation, but a palace source told The Telegraph. Some of the codenames, when decrypted, reveal that this subject is now considered a domestic threat to national stability, not just a public relations liability. In an unexpected move, Prince William secretly requested an emergency meeting with the Prime Minister. He reportedly expressed concerns not only for his daughter's safety, but also for the future of the monarchy, saying, "This is no longer a family matter. This is someone trying to undermine the system," from across the Atlantic. Meghan was spotted leaving a secret exit near her Montecito estate, shielded by umbrellas and accompanied by unfamiliar security personnel. TMZ ran an exclusive headline that evening: Meghan's new security team has ties to contractor XNSA. What is she planning? Meanwhile, Kate Middleton proceeded with her scheduled speech at the United Nations via video. Everything proceeded perfectly without interruption. But while these covert operations unfolded, another battle quietly raged on social media and public forums. A former member of the Royal Spills group, known for leaking insider secrets and rumors about the royal family, posted a shocking tweet: "Meghan has lost. The government isn't fighting back. They're just handing the receipts over to the FBI." The tweet immediately drew thousands of comments, many demanding a public investigation, calls for more transparency about the surveillance activities, and even urging the UK Parliament to reconsider Meghan Markle's citizenship status. This shows that the story is no longer just simple rumors or internal palace disputes. It has escalated to an entirely new level involving national security, international law, and espionage activities. What was once considered unimaginable is now becoming reality, like a betrayal from within threatening the stability of the monarchy.
I think the girls with their nails done now.
At the heart of all this turmoil is a woman once admired for breaking the traditional royal mold, but now accused of crossing every boundary that once protected her. Meghan Markle, whether set up fallen or quietly retaliating, will undoubtedly never have the same image or standing again. Meanwhile, Buckingham Palace has yet to issue any official statement, and internal moves remain shrouded in secrecy. One thing is clear: the battle is far from over, and many developments are likely still to unfold in the near future. If you found this story intriguing and want to stay updated on what happens next, don't forget to like the video to support me. If you want more people to uncover the mysteries behind this case, please share this video with your friends and on social media. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any of the latest updates on hot royal stories and national security secrets. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next videos. Welcome to the channel. Today we will learn about shocking information. Meghan Markle burst into tears when a series of new details from the hospital were leaked, raising doubts about the birth of Prince Archie. Secrets that were thought to be buried suddenly appeared, confusing both the media and fans. What is the truth behind the story? Let's find out now. Do you believe that Meghan really gave birth to Prince Archie? If you believe, comment number 2, and if you doubt this story, leave number 5. Don't forget to watch the whole video to understand better, and remember to like, share, and subscribe to support my channel to create more interesting content. What you're about to hear is no longer an unfounded internet rumor. This is a real media crisis, and it's headed straight for Buckingham Palace at breakneck speed. Meghan Markle is in a state of panic as a previously anonymous woman, now known as DL, has come forward with shocking claims. The birth of Prince Archie on May 6, 2019 was shrouded in doubt, but now the flames of suspicion are once again burning brighter than ever. DL insists that she is not an egg donor or part of some shady Hollywood deal. She makes it clear that she is a medically certified surrogate with a clear contract and has given birth to not only Prince Archie, but also Princess Lilibet. With her calm, confident demeanor and above all solid evidence, DL is putting Meghan and the British royal family in a very awkward position. What truth is hidden behind the royal doors? Is this the turning point that will permanently change Harry and Meghan's public image? And now DL is no longer silent. Let that sink in, because what she's revealing is more than just an accusation that Meghan Markle wore a fake belly during her pregnancy. It's a serious claim I carried the royal children, I gave birth to them, and I have proof. That proof, DL says, includes medical records, signed NDAs, emails, payment logs, and documents from a California surrogacy company. She claims she was initially promised two things: absolute privacy and a decent salary, but in the end she was erased from the picture as if she never existed. And that story, according to DL, has been a drama that Meghan and Harry have been staging since the very beginning. Think back to Archie's birth announcement. No hospital exit, like Kate and William, no professional photographers, no press hordes, just Harry standing in front of the stables, smiling wryly and saying, "We're having a baby." At the time, many assumed the couple was just trying to keep it private. But now, with DL's presence and what she's revealed, all the past suspicions seem to be coming back, this time more fierce and dangerous than ever. And the internet, well, it was ablaze. Ministers focused on women's and children's health, and millions of views poured in on Meghan's infamous pregnancy clips. You know the ones, the belly flexing as she sat, the belly changing dramatically between public appearances just days apart. At the time, they were dismissed as conspiracy theory nonsense. But now even mainstream commentators are saying, hold on, we need to talk. Because if what DL claims is even partially true, this is no longer just a tabloid rumor. This is a constitutional crisis. We are talking about the British royal line of succession. Two children presented to the world as legitimate biological heirs, tied to a centuries-old legacy, and welcomed with all the royal pomp. If Meghan did not actually give birth to Archie and Lilibet, and this was deliberately concealed, then this is not just a violation of tradition. It could be seen as an act of fraud on a national level, directly affecting the legitimacy of the royal bloodline. But the story gets stranger when you look back at the details that were once considered trivial. One of the biggest points of suspicion was the birth certificate. Just before 2 p.m. yesterday, Buckingham Palace announced that Meghan had gone into labor. But just 40 minutes later, when Archie's birth certificate was released, something unusual was discovered. Meghan's full legal name, Rachel Meghan Markle, had been removed and replaced with Her Royal Highness the Duke of Sussex. It was more than a simple change on paper. It was the sign of something carefully controlled, perhaps even hidden. And if that was the case, then the story the world had believed may never have been true. Now that seems like a technical update. The palace said it was just an administrative change. Meghan later claimed she didn't know it happened, but now with DL's allegations, that administrative change looks more like a calculated legal move. Why? Because if Meghan isn't the biological mother, listing her as such could be a falsification of a legitimate government document. Do you think the royal family should clarify this or continue to keep quiet like they have been? If you think they should, leave a comment with 3. If you think silence is best, leave a 6. Every comment and subscription from you is a huge motivation for me to continue bringing better quality videos. Do you see where this is going? And Harry, where is he in all of this? According to multiple sources close to him, Prince Harry is completely devastated. He is said to be barely sleeping, snapping at his aides and pacing around their Montecito mansion. One former staffer even shared that Harry feels trapped in a lie that he once thought he could control, but now feels like it's spiraling out of control. The fatigue, the pressure, and the sense of loss of control are overwhelming a man who was once a prince watched by the world. Meghan, meanwhile, has chosen to remain completely silent. No social media posts, no new podcasts, no stories, no "Hello Sunshine" Instagram captions, nothing. And that silence for many has only added to the confusion. Behind the scenes, however, her legal team has been working overtime. They've sent cease and desist letters to news outlets and are even considering taking on DL directly in an interview. But DL is undeterred. She's willing to take a DNA test, she's willing to testify under oath, and she says she has nothing to hide. Those aren't the actions of a storyteller. Those are the actions of someone who believes her truth. So the question is, was Archie really born at Frogmore Cottage as has been claimed, or did the truth lie somewhere else entirely? DL says she was recruited through a high-end surrogacy agency in California, where she was kept completely isolated throughout both pregnancies. No friends or family were allowed to visit to keep everything completely private and confidential. Meghan's team took care of her accommodations, medical appointments, and even counseling to keep her stable and completely under their control. However, after the birth of Princess Lilibet, all communication between DL and the support team was cut off. She no longer received any care or attention and felt like she was just a vessel and not a person anymore. From that moment on, DL began to record everything in detail: email exchanges, ultrasound appointment logs, financial records, and even photos taken in medical facilities. These evidences, she said, were the key to exposing the truth behind this controversial story. DL claims that the NDA she signed was strict, but now that her side believes the agreement has been violated, she felt free to speak out, and she did. So why now? According to DL, it was not an act of revenge, but rather for her health. She revealed that she suffered from preeclampsia after giving birth to Princess Lilibet and was not given adequate follow-up care, which left her feeling betrayed and fueled her determination to speak out. Legal experts in the UK are quickly figuring out what the case means for royal succession. Constitutional advisors are poring over ancient documents and rules to answer a question that has never been asked before. What happens if a royal heir is born via a secret surrogate? This is uncharted territory for the monarchy, where tradition, bloodline, and legitimacy are at the heart of the system. And if they are compromised, it could trigger a full-blown institutional crisis. The public has also begun to react in a big way. Polls show that trust in the Sussexes has fallen to its lowest level since Megxit. Former fans have begun deleting supportive tweets, influencers have deleted old posts, and even famous allies have gone silent. In a world where authenticity is the most valuable commodity, there is nothing more dangerous than being exposed as someone who is faking basic facts. Meghan's legal team still seems to be hoping things will calm down, but DL's confidence and the mounting media pressure suggest this story is just getting started. The legal implications are playing out not only in the US, but also in the UK, leaving Meghan and Harry facing perhaps the toughest wall yet in their fairy tale. And the next step could be the all-important DNA tests everyone has been waiting for. DL didn't just make vague accusations and then disappear. She challenged Meghan and Harry to prove her wrong and publicly offered to take a full DNA test, including herself, Meghan, Harry, and their children, Archie and Lilibet. However, she stipulated that the test must be carried out by an independent third party with no influence from the royal family or the Sussexes. This demand for transparency has become a point of contention. If Meghan and Harry are confident about their truth, now is the time to put any doubts to rest. That's not happening, however. Legal sources say the Sussexes are trying to stall things. They've filed a preliminary injunction in California to block the release of documents DL has in hand. Meanwhile, Meghan and Harry's lawyers have sent legal warnings to at least 3 media outlets that were scheduled to air interviews with DL in an attempt to control the narrative and stop the story from spreading. Team Meghan's strategy seems to be delay, distraction, and denial. But the tide is slowly turning. Some prominent royal commentators are beginning to speak out, admitting what the press has been whispering behind closed doors for years, that Meghan's pregnancy appearance was never convincing, that the palace's silence at the time was a tactic to avoid public humiliation, and that Harry may have been more deeply involved in the story than anyone realized. Which brings us to another important aspect, the cover-up. DL says that when Meghan's team was approached in late 2018, they presented the surrogacy relationship as an exclusive arrangement with a tight contract, generous support, and a commitment to absolute secrecy. But things changed after Archie was born. DL says that not only was she hidden from the public eye, but she was also completely cut off from contact, not monitored or checked, and worse, there was no evidence in official records to support her existence in the story. She alleges that Meghan's team used an internal pseudonym to replace her name in medical documents, rendering her virtually invisible legally. And now the original documents weren't deleted. DL says she has them. Which brings us to the palace. Until now, Buckingham Palace has maintained a solid wall of silence around everything Sussex-related. No comment, no involvement. We wish them well. You know the script. But behind the scenes, that stoic composure may be cracking. Royal sources say Charles's senior advisors have quietly begun looking into the constitutional implications of a potential surrogacy scandal. Not because the surrogacy itself is controversial, but because an undisclosed surrogacy involving heirs to the throne could be construed as deception. The old rules when it comes to legitimacy, inheritance, and succession. If it turns out Archie and Lilibet were not born as publicly claimed, and if the palace even knew about it, it could trigger a constitutional review of their position. Put simply, if the truth is buried for PR purposes, it could force the monarchy to act. Some legal scholars have raised difficult questions. If the children were not born from Meghan's body, would that affect their status as natural-born royalty? Would their princely titles still be upheld under the 1917 letters patent issued by King George V? Could their line of succession be halted or even erased if the process was covered up? And that's not to mention the PR nightmare. Because let's face it, the monarchy is already struggling with public trust. If this scandal blows up, it won't just damage Meghan and Harry, it will sow doubt about how much the palace knew and why they didn't say anything. Meanwhile, back in Montecito, sources say the Sussexes are in lockdown mode. Staff have been reduced. Security has been doubled. Meghan and Harry are reportedly no longer speaking to some longtime friends, including a few in the entertainment industry who liked posts questioning the timing of their pregnancy. Ouch! Their Netflix deal is under review. Their Spotify podcast has been quietly put on hold. Their children's book brand is completely silent. And the carefully crafted image of modern royals as modern hip activists, spiritual parents, next-generation leaders, that image is now hanging in the balance. Because the story they've been telling the world for 5 years is starting to look like a script, and DL has just exposed the deleted scenes. Rewind to a key moment that now looks very different. Meghan's 2019 Vogue interview. She talks about the deep spiritual experience of becoming a mother. She talks about bonding with her baby during pregnancy, about reading affirmations about feeling the kicks in her womb. At the time, people applauded her honesty and intimacy. Now, people are scrutinizing her every word like detectives. If DL's claims are true, those quotes don't just read like lies, they read like acting. That's why this isn't just about royal protocol anymore. It's about trust credibility and a culture that values transparency over branding. And let's not forget, this is the same couple who spent years criticizing the press for its distortions and intrusions. But now they are accused of deceiving the very public whose sympathy they helped build their brand. It is irony at its finest. And the British public, they are not happy. Recent polls show a staggering 70% drop in support for Meghan and Harry among UK citizens. Even in the US, once their strongest fan base support has fallen below 40%. It is a collapse in real time. And while Meghan's silence has been seen as graceful and patient in the past, it now seems intentional. Especially given how quickly she has responded to lawsuits, legal letters, rebuttal, Instagram posts, and tearful interviews. So why is she silent this time? That question is growing louder as DL refuses to back down. She is reportedly preparing for a live interview with a major U.S. network, a show set to air Sunday night with millions of viewers. If DL were to reveal medical records or even DNA material during the interview, it could be the decisive blow that could send the already shaky Sussex brand to the brink of collapse. The greatest tragedy, if even a small part of DL's story is true, is that the two children, Archie and Lilibet, were caught up in a media war that they had absolutely nothing to do with. They are now the central figures of a global scandal, while in the middle are two adults who have built their reputations on values like truth and transparency. So what happens next in this story? The answer remains to be seen. So let's dive into the legal side of this scandal. Because this isn't just a headline, it's a case that could be playing out in court. Word on the ground is that DL, our mystery surrogate turned whistleblower, is consulting with a legal team known for handling celebrity disputes and constitutional law. This isn't just her taking her story public. She's reportedly preparing to file a civil lawsuit, not for money, but for recognition. Recognition as the biological mother of the two children introduced to the world as Meghan Markle's. Now, before you dismiss this as tabloid folly, think again. If DL's claims are verified, this could be a landmark case. Because while surrogacy agreements often include confidentiality clauses, there are limits. And DL's lawyers are arguing that Meghan and Harry may have violated that agreement themselves by cutting off all contact with her and refusing to provide postnatal care as agreed upon in the contract. That could make that part of the NDA unenforceable, legally speaking. And if that happens, everything DL knew could become public record. We're talking hospital logs from Cedars-Sinai and another private clinic in Santa Barbara. Correspondence between Meghan's team and the surrogacy company. Invoices related to the private accommodations DL claims she was kept in during her pregnancy. And most shockingly, a signed paper trail showing Meghan's team acknowledging DL as the surrogate mother before quietly erasing her existence after she gave birth. Even the relevant agencies may be caught up in the drama. Sources say at least 2 employees from the California-based surrogacy firm used by Meghan's team have been placed on unpaid leave, pending an internal investigation. And one insider told a reporter, "Everyone knew it was a high-profile case, but no one knew it would blow up like this." Meanwhile, as the Sussexes prepare for potential depositions, palace lawyers are quietly closing in. They don't talk about it publicly. Of course not. But make no mistake, they're preparing for the fallout. The Royal Legal Council is reportedly reviewing decades-old succession laws, fertility protocols, and legal precedents regarding heirs born through modern reproductive technology. Because that's where the constitutional chaos lies. If Harry and Meghan did use a surrogate and didn't disclose it, would they have inadvertently defrauded the crown? We're not just talking about lying. We're talking about potentially introducing heirs to the throne under false pretenses. That's never happened before, not on this scale. And while Buckingham Palace may never say it, insiders have suggested that they're looking into Article X of the royal patent, which was issued under George V in 1917, which outlines who can be a prince or princess. It explicitly states that the heir must be genuinely born of the body. And it's that genuinely born phrase that's giving legal scholars headaches, because if Meghan never actually gave birth, and that fact was deliberately concealed, then the entire Sussex line could technically be invalid under strict royal rules. It sounds dramatic and far-fetched, but constitutional experts in the UK say, this is more than just a sensational story. It's a complex, ambiguous legal territory that has never been dealt with before in the history of the modern monarchy. The monarchy, which is ancient and steeped in tradition, is extremely averse to ambiguity or legal uncertainty. Any doubt about the heir's legal parentage could create an unprecedented crisis. But the story doesn't end there. The scandal has not only created huge waves within the royal family, but also had a profound impact on Hollywood, where Meghan has built a strong personal brand. Her Archewell brand, once seen as a symbol of innovation, transparency, and inclusion, after leaving the royal family, is now facing tremendous pressure from the public, the media, and even the legal world. This incident may not only shake Meghan and Harry's personal reputation, but also raise big questions about the future of the empire they have tried to build. The A-list connections who once hailed her as a modern-day Diana are suspiciously quiet. Celebrity endorsements have slowed. Podcast deals are on hold and behind the scenes. Sponsors are asking, what else aren't they telling us? What she's going to do is really get Harry to jump on something like that. You know she's going to have things that she doesn't like and tell him that it's making his life so difficult and he can't deal with her, so he just tries. A major liquor distributor that signed on to help launch Meghan's upcoming lifestyle brand is now reportedly pulling out. Their reason brand safety concerns. This scandal is toxic for business. And let's not forget, this was supposed to be Meghan's year of redemption. 2025 was supposed to be the year she rebranded again. From Netflix specials to skincare lines to children's books to women's empowerment conferences, she's poised to move from controversy to commerce. But all of that is being crushed under the weight of one woman's accusations. Because DL isn't just tearing apart Meghan's personal story. It's threatening her entire business ecosystem. Netflix, for example, is reportedly reviewing the Harry and Meghan documentary to assess whether any of the content may have misrepresented time or family history. One executive was quoted anonymously as saying, "If we broadcast something that is untrue, particularly in relation to a royal birth, it's not just a PR problem, it's a legal liability." And speaking of people backing out, have you noticed the silence from Oprah? The woman who gave Meghan and Harry their most explosive platform of 2021, where Meghan spoke about suicidal thoughts and racism in the palace, has not commented on the new allegations. Not a word, not even a social media post. Why? Because if these claims are true, it means Oprah's infamous interview may have contained serious misrepresentations. And for someone as powerful as Oprah, being taken advantage of, whether intentionally or unintentionally, is not a pleasant experience. The domino effect of this scandal is not limited to the monarchy. It is touching every room Meghan and Harry have entered since 2020. Even Spotify, which famously ended its deal with the couple last year, is said to be grateful they cut ties when they did. A former Spotify executive reportedly joked, "We dodged a bullet the size of a pregnant belly. We may laugh now, but the consequences are huge. Public trust in the Sussexes is bleeding." And for a couple who left the royal family claiming to want control of their own narrative, it has become painfully clear that they have lost that control. Yet there have been no press conferences, no video statements, no Meghan speaking out with the passion she once did. Instead, we have palace advisors in private meetings, legal teams reviewing contracts, old friends avoiding the press, and the public still left with questions that no one wants to answer. One commentator recently put it well when he said that Meghan and Harry are behaving like people with something to hide. And in 2025, even the slightest hint of doubt can be enough to ruin everything. We are living through what media experts call the screaming silence, when the story becomes louder, not because of new revelations, but because of the deafening silence from those involved. If DL does indeed make a public appearance on an international morning show, something sources say is being planned, there may be no going back for Meghan and Harry. If even a partial release of medical records or secret conversations with Meghan's team comes to light, public sympathy could immediately shift to DL. And what about the children Archie and Lilibet in this scenario?
I think the girls with their nails done now.
When Archie and Lilibet grow up and read these shocking headlines, when they hear about the surrogate claims, the title questions, the conspiracy theories circulating on social media, what will they think? And more importantly, what will they believe? Because no matter how Meghan and Harry deny, admit, or try to change the story, the damage is done, and the court of public opinion will not wait for royal approval. If there was ever a moment Meghan Markle could turn back time, this is probably it. The pressure from outside and inside is mounting by the day, with the tension at the Sussexes' Montecito estate almost unbearable. Staffers describe a house operating in crisis mode. No one speaks above a whisper. No one makes eye contact for too long. And many of the family's top aides, the people closest to Meghan and Harry, have abruptly taken extended leave or resigned altogether. The serene image Meghan has worked so hard to cultivate, the photos of brightly lit kitchens, Montecito gardens, yoga mats, and mason jars of iced matcha tea, has crumbled behind the scenes. A source put it bluntly. They've gone from a shelter to a bunker. But what's most alarming isn't just DL's persistence, it's the fact that media outlets across Europe are no longer following the old rules. At a time when Meghan and Harry were still at the height of public sympathy, publications were cautious. They didn't want to be labeled racist or confrontational.
I think the girls with their nails done now.
But now, things have changed. Several major German and French news outlets have commissioned full investigations into the origins of Archie and Lilibet's births. And let's not forget, European media do not operate under the same libel and privacy laws as those in the UK or US. What they publish could be unsavory, and Meghan's legal team will have a hard time stopping it. What's more, DL isn't fading from the spotlight as many expected. She's gaining traction. She's being invited onto morning shows abroad, featured in long-form podcast interviews, and even approached for a book deal. She's being portrayed not as a celebrity seeker, but as a whistleblower, a woman who played a role in a global story and is now standing up to an institution that tried to erase her. And the story of a silenced woman finally finding her voice has been Meghan's signature. That's the most painful part. DL is essentially hijacking Meghan's brand. The roles have reversed. Meghan's silence now looks like high-class avoidance, while DL's openness comes across as brave, honest, and righteous. Behind the scenes, Harry is said to be falling apart at a faster rate than Meghan. While Meghan has been shutting out the world, keeping her blinds closed and avoiding public events, Harry has been seen walking around the Montecito estate at odd hours. A neighbor reported seeing him walking around the perimeter of the property late at night without security, muttering to himself and occasionally stopping to stare into space. Sources say he is haunted by the thought that his children might one day learn the truth not from him, but from newspaper headlines. And that fear, insiders say, is keeping him up at night. Because if DL is proven right, and the children are shown to have been conceived via surrogate under a false narrative, Harry's already fragile image could shatter completely. He has built his post-royal identity on transparency, on being a wounded soldier who escaped an institution that failed him. But if it turns out he was deliberately involved in deceiving the public about something as sacred as the birth of his own child, that's not just dishonesty, it's betrayal. And the palace, oh, they're watching closely. Buckingham Palace has not issued an official statement, but make no mistake, discussions are ongoing. The king is said to be deeply concerned, but about what this could do to the long-term reputation of the monarchy. Because remember, royal history is long. Reputation is everything. Once the public begins to question the legitimacy of a royal birth, where does it end? If there's one thing the monarchy fears more than scandal, it's uncertainty. And DL's arrival has introduced a level of uncertainty they've never had to deal with before. Behind palace walls, senior aides are said to be pressuring King Charles to take a firmer stance, not necessarily in public, but in private.
I think the girls with their nails done now.
Discussions have already begun about the possibility of quietly reviewing Archie and Lilibet's royal titles, not stripping them outright but freezing them, meaning they would no longer be actively used in any form unless further clarification is given. It would be a subtle, behind-the-scenes move designed to protect the institution without adding to the drama. But even the suggestion of such a move could send shockwaves through the Sussex camp. Meghan, for her part, seems to have gone into full survival mode. While she's usually quick to issue carefully crafted statements through PR or legal representation, this time she's gone silent. No updates, no denials, no spin. Insiders say this was intentional. She's waiting to see if DL will just go away on its own, if the story will lose momentum on its own. But the problem is that it's not losing momentum. It's picking up speed. Every hour that passes without a response feeds public suspicion. People are digging deeper. Online sleuths are now combing through hospital personnel records, transport logs, even flight data to track Meghan's movements in the weeks leading up to Archie and Lilibet's birth. And while none of it is concrete, the questions being asked are too pertinent to ignore. For example, if Meghan gave birth at London's Portland Hospital, as initially claimed, why were there no credible sightings from staff? There were no nurse testimonies, no doctors who came forward to acknowledge her presence on the premises.
The girls with their nails done now.
And why just days before Lilibet was supposedly born in California, did a private plane associated with Harry fly to Nevada and back, a location now rumored to be linked to the surrogate's whereabouts? Again, none of this has been confirmed, but in the absence of clarity, speculation fills the void, and speculation, when given enough crumbs, becomes belief. And then there is the matter of the children themselves. Archie and Lilibet are rarely seen in public, and when they are, the photos are often tightly controlled. There is no press pool, no candid shots always filtered through the Archewell media machine. That used to be considered privacy. But now people are wondering if it is something else entirely. Is it a fear that public scrutiny might expose inconsistencies in their appearance, or that their existence, when examined too closely, might unravel the very narrative that Meghan and Harry have so carefully constructed? And it's not just hearsay, it's legacy, it's the monarchy, it's constitutional history. What happens next is anyone's guess. Will Meghan finally come forward and address the claims head-on? Will DL go live on a major platform and release the documents she claims to have? Will the palace intervene publicly? Or will this become one of those lingering scandals whispered in the dark corners of royal history, never fully resolved, always hanging like a question no one wants to answer? If there was ever a moment when Meghan Markle and Prince Harry wished they could slam on the brakes and reassess things, it's now. Because what started as a rebellious woman making unverified claims has turned into a potential constitutional nightmare, one that could fundamentally change how the modern monarchy is viewed for decades to come. And in the middle of it all, a deafening silence. DL hasn't gone away. In fact, she's pushing harder. Multiple sources confirm she's scheduled to appear in a primetime interview within the next 2 weeks, and she's turned over part of her documents to international legal advisors in case she's being gagged or pressured. She's not backing down, and the public is watching like a hawk. Yet the Sussexes remain locked behind walls both literally and strategically. There is no red table talk, no Oprah follow-up, not even a carefully filtered Instagram post with a cryptic caption. There is just a void where clarity should be. And that silence, once interpreted as formality, is now interpreted as evasion, or worse, confirmation. Let's not forget what's at stake here. We're not just talking about PR drama or celebrity spats. This is about 2 children presented to the world as royal heirs. This is about birth certificates, titles, legal succession, and trusts. If the palace was deceived, that's one thing. But if they were complicit, that's another. And if Meghan and Harry knowingly built their brand global influential commercial on a foundation of falsehood, then this is more than just a scandal. It's history. What Meghan and Harry do next will define everything: their reputations, the legitimacy of their children in the public eye, and even their relationship with the royal family, whatever remains of it. Will they confess? Will they sue? Will they present evidence and put the speculation to rest once and for all? Or will this be another chapter in the long, messy, and increasingly unbelievable story of Meghan and Harry, a couple who have left the throne but can't escape the spotlight? One thing is for sure: the world is watching, and no amount of royal titles, Netflix deals, or PR stunts can change what has already begun. The curtain has been lifted, and now we all want to know the truth. And if the truth is what DL says, Meghan's fairy tale may have just become the darkest twist yet in the history of the monarchy. Stay tuned, because this story is far from over. So, the new revelations surrounding Meghan Markle's birth